Our Republican Iowa Senator Joni Ernst recently introduced a bill known as the Informed Consent Act. The legislation would make it a crime to perform an abortion or sterilization procedure on a patient without the informed consent. The bill comes on the heels of a whistleblower complaint last fall that alleged mass hysterectomies were being performed on immigrant women at a customs enforcement facility in Georgia. And joining us now to talk more about the bill is Senator Joni Ernst. Senator, thank you so much for your time today and welcome back. Before we talk about the Informed Consent Act, I want to talk to you about another bill that's front and center today, the COVID relief bill, or as you call it, the non-COVID package. There is a lot included in the $1.9 trillion bill, and I know many things that you feel should not be, among them support for Planned Parenthood. Could you talk more about that?
Absolutely. And you just heard this a moment ago from my colleague, Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, where she was highlighting a number of things that we hope to see changed within the non-COVID $2 trillion package. She is working on those Hyde Amendment protections. We need to make sure that they stay in, but also the Paycheck Protection Program, which goes to small businesses. We do not want that funding Planned Parenthood organizations or other organizations that are assisting with abortions. It is really important that we maintain a steady influence over our taxpayer dollars and make sure that taxpayers are not funding abortions or things that they find abhorrent.
Senator, I'm wondering, have you heard from your constituents? And if so, what are they saying to you about this bill? How do they feel about it?
They are outraged about this bill. Now, they understand, and many of them are still fighting through COVID-19, but they are outraged because such a small portion of this bill actually goes to funding COVID-19 related activities like vaccinations and the distribution of those vaccinations, child care centers that need to open back up so that moms and dads can get back to work. All of those things are very important, but very insignificant in the overall spending of this bill. So we do need to focus on COVID-19 and make sure that we're providing relief for the Americans that need it most.
All right, now I want to go back to the Informed Consent Act. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why you felt it was important to introduce and do it now?
Well, it is so important because, as you mentioned, the Irwin County Detention Center in Georgia had a physician there that was performing, according to a whistleblower, hysterectomies and sterilizations, abortions that were not consented by those that were undergoing treatment at that facility. So it is important to recognize that there is no prohibition to this in federal law. So we need to make sure that it is put into code and that these women that are either being sterilized or having abortions performed have provided consent. That's why it is called the Informed Consent Act. Very important, common sense, and whether you are pro-abortion or pro-life, this should be something that we can all agree on.
We have probably about 90 seconds left or so, but I want to get your thoughts on this. What we're seeing right now on the border, with a surge of migrants crossing, most notably by unaccompanied children. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that this is a travesty, and we know that that journey coming up to our southern border from many of those other nations is treacherous. And the fact that we have those traffickers that are using children, bringing them to the border, trying to get across our border, it's just endangering the lives of those children. Many of them will be abused as they're being brought to the southern border. And what we've seen in this administration is not a strong stance on the border that says stay home or go back home, go through the proper process. Instead, we've seen the Biden administration throw open the doors and welcome those illegal migrants, which creates a number of issues on our southern border, which then infiltrates into the interior of the country. So again, it's endangering the lives of those children that are coming up from other nations, but then it also puts our own citizens at risk.
Well, Senator Ernst, thank you so much for your time today. We know you probably have a long night ahead of you. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.